and joining with. I hope everyone is safe and in good health. In Sri Lanka, there's a limited offering focused on prawns. However, there was one man who saw an opportunity in this phrase, prawns, the unsung hero. He is none other than Mr. Apinash Sivagumaaran, the CEO and co-founder of ISSO Restaurants. A very good evening to you. We are extremely delighted to have you on board. So, without taking any more time, let's get into real talk. Um, the first question directed to you, Mr. Apinash Sivagumaaran, is can you tell us a little bit about yourself, also about your role model?
All right, so a little bit about myself is I was born and raised in Sri Lanka. I went to hotel school in Singapore, so I had industry knowledge. I came back and I started working for Anilana Resorts. I started as a management trainee, but by the time I was 25, I was the resort manager for one of their properties. And then I moved on to a role where I was general manager for South Asia for a hotel chain called Platino Group. Um, that's a little bit about myself. I mean, I got some experience over there. I spent a lot of time in the kitchens, and then I knew this is what I want to do. In terms of role model, growing up, I was a big fan of Richard Branson. I saw him as the underdog. But recent times, there's a lot of people I look up to and learn from. So there's too many. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does. So even though I mentioned you saw an opportunity in that phrase, the story has to come from your end. I would want to know why prawns and not maybe cuttlefish or squid in that case. Why prawns?
So again, when we opened a restaurant in 2016, there was an opportunity in the market. You know, there were brands created for the high-end audience and the tourist audience, and you get uh, brands that were not really concepts catering to the local market. So we identified a gap in the market for a luxury product for the Sri Lankan audience, for the middle-income audience. And when we look at seafood, you get your lobsters, crabs, and then you get prawns, you know. And we culturally love prawns. We have a lot of prawn dishes from Sri Lanka. We have the isotel dala, we have the jaffna curry, the nigambu curry, the devil prawns, the hot butter prawns, the isowade, and so on, you know. So it was a no-brainer, and I personally loved prawns growing up. So it was easy for us to, it was easy for me to at least agree to building a restaurant focused on one ingredient being prawns. Yeah.
All right, so you focused on prawns and you started this restaurant. So tell us about the ISO restaurant and how it was established.
So it was established in 2016. Like I said again, at that time, I was young. I was about 25, 26. I was at this, I had the opportunity to work for these big companies um, that were scaling their business by signing management contracts and increasing the number of hotels they want overnight. So I had this different view of how businesses scale. And I was young, I was hungry, uh, and I spent a lot of time in the kitchen and restaurant, like I said, you know. So this is my bread and butter. I knew how it operated. I knew all the moving parts. So we put all the pieces together and launched this brand, you know.
Impressive. Okay, so who has been your biggest support system?
Um, I guess it's my family, you know. I mean, it's not easy to start your own business. There's a lot of great days and a lot of not so great days, you know. And uh, having that support system is important, you know. Someone to motivate you, tell you, hey, it's okay, tomorrow is another day. So I guess it's my family, you know. Yeah.
Were your parents okay at the first time you told I want to start up a restaurant?
Yes, my mom was okay. My dad told me to go get a real job after I'm done opening this. but
It's really yes.
But later on, he
Uh,
grew fond of the business and what we were doing, saw what we were doing. And, they're quite supportive.
right, right. All right. So you described the challenges you faced when launching the business, and amongst them, was the challenge of starting up a solid company with a good team.
Yeah.
What are the other challenges you faced when launching the business?
So I think with launching any business, I think people have a lot of great ideas, right? But the real challenge is putting these pieces together efficiently and managing people to quickly execute to get the ball rolling so that you can actually launch a product. I think this is the toughest part about starting a business. So you should constantly not take your eye off the ball. If not, you're going to take too long to launch. You'll be over budget, or you would have 100 other things to do. So I wouldn't call it a challenge, but I think it's hard adapting. I mean, it's hard understanding that work starts now. When you come up with an idea. Or,
Right. So, according to you, what is the key to developing a good team in a restaurant business?
Repeat that again. What is the key?
The key to developing a good team in a restaurant business.
A key to developing a good team. So I think the first thing is to build an honest relationship with them, to get to know who they are, where they're from, why are they here, what's their 5-year plan, who do they want to be. Share your vision. I share our vision with our whole team. They all know what I'm up to. Same way I know what they're up to. Show them there's opportunity to grow with you. Give them a clear job description, so there's no confusion. Um, and let them have ownership of that role. I mean, I think it's all about nurturing and working together, getting to know people. I think it comes down to that.
So interesting. Right. So you started a career in the hospitality sector, as you mentioned previously. What inspired you to become an entrepreneur, and what is the most memorable experience you've had so far as an entrepreneur?
I think, I mean, what inspired me to become an entrepreneur, I would say, is I always wanted to do something on my own. I think it was the right time, the right opportunity, and it was the situation I was in, and everything came along in one go, and I just jumped at it. So that's basically what inspired me. What was your second part of the question again?
The most memorable experience.
I would say it's hearing feedback from customers. It's always a great experience. But also, like now we're 5 years old, we're over 5 years old, but looking back at something you built from scratch, and that brings a lot of good memories just to see how far you've come.
So I guess everything at that time was happening just the way you want and in your favor. And it's nice to
Not
see
really.
people do. Okay, at least a bit, at least a bit of motivating factors, I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
So and we have reached. So all thanks to you and your team. Well done. And so I remember ISSO was the talk of the town when it opened. And I want to ask you, how did you come up with a unique name? It's so catchy, among Sri Lankans saying ISSO, it's catchy. So why
Okay.
did you think you come up with that?
Okay, again. So this is also a lot of thinking that went into it. So when we opened in 2016, there was barely any brands out there. You got the big players, and everything else was like almost the same type of Chinese restaurant or Thai restaurant. There's no concepts out there catered to the local audience. So that's the first gap we identified. Then again, we wanted to build something for Sri Lankans, for the local audience. So we chose the name that communicates with our audience. So when we connected all the pieces together, when we wanted to come up with a name, these are the guys we're catering to. I mean, they understand this. Like, so if you see ISSO outside, I'm not selling chicken inside or not selling cars or clothes. I'm selling prawns. So that's how we picked it. But apart from the name, I think it's identifying a clear market gap, which is there's no local brand for the local market, taking a luxury ingredient and selling it at a reasonable price, identifying our target segments and having a strategy for our branding and communication. I think putting all these pieces together is what worked for us, not just the name. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. It is. Okay, so in what ways is this different from other restaurants? at least in the seafood industry or in the criteria?
I think in many ways, the first one is we're a fast casual restaurant serving prawn dishes at a reasonable price in comparison to any seafood restaurant out there. I mean, tell me another restaurant you can go and have a prawn meal for 790 rupees. I don't think there's any out there. Then I would say that we're the only prawn focused restaurant in the country and perhaps the region. We serve prawn dishes from around the world. Um, Also, we are a restaurant brand. Again, we are a restaurant brand that was built to cater to the Sri Lankan audience. We built this for all of you. So we're addressing. I mean, we've developed. We're doing everything to communicate to this audience. So that's how we're different from anyone out there.
Okay. Cool stuff, I think. So, do you think we have created a huge change in the way a customer looks at a restaurant now?
Um, I would actually like to hear this from the audience. I hope we have created a brand that have changed the way you look at restaurants. So hopefully, some of you can tell us what you think of ISSO and what we have built over the last few years and your experiences. Yeah.
Audience, anyone willing to answer his question? Don't tell us that you've never been to his restaurant. I'm going to still wait for the answer.
That's all right.
Okay, so I'll tell my experience. So what interested me the most was the exterior look. Like, it was different from any other restaurant that I saw in Sri Lanka because it had the vibe of an American fast food restaurant too. Because American fast food restaurants have like a like a very unique way of the exterior look in terms, and then the interior to the food experience to the friendly customer service, and that's like one of the most vital things that a restaurant would want. I mean, should have. So I think basically everything is spot on. So me being a fan of this, so I love everything about this. So I'm not trying to take, telling you to give me like a free dish or something, but you can still consider it. Okay, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So what is Isa's greatest strength and weakness?
Um, I think our greatest strength is who we are as a brand, what we offer, and how we do it. And this is all built through internal processes and functions. I think that is our strength. Every time we faced a problem, we've mapped out how we solve that problem. So every time it comes again, we have a solution. So I think this is something we spent doing during the pandemic. We spent 18 months building, just going through all of our internal processes, mapping it out. So I think this is one of our strengths today, and I think this is what is going to help us grow. Yeah.
Do you think you're catering to it, to the
Do you think I'm what?
weaknesses? You're catering to those problems and challenges and weaknesses.
You mean what are my weaknesses?
No, like where I asked you Isa's greatest strength and weakness.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's our strength. I think our weakness would be that we are focusing on one single ingredient. So chicken is still cheaper, and most of you love chicken compared to prawns. Uh, so focusing on one ingredient also puts us in a volatile situation against any disruption. So I think that is our weakness. I feel our strengths and opportunities out there are much more.
It's a great balance. Yeah. Okay, so amidst all these weaknesses and challenges, ISSO has managed to be the proud winner of the Best Restaurant Concept of the Year award at the prestigious QSR Media Conference and Awards 2020 held in Singapore. How do you think you managed to do this, and how do you feel about it now?
I mean, we are grateful to have been recognized as the best restaurant concept. It put us on a spotlight to an international audience. We were recognized alongside big brands such as Taco Bell, KFC, Subway, and so on. So, who won other awards? So we treated this as a validation that we've built a concept that would work in these markets, right? Because that's what it is. And also, the interesting thing was we won this during the lockdown. We were nominated in 2019, and we had to. These guys came and reviewed us and stuff, but we won this in 2020, and we won it during the lockdowns. And the lockdowns were frustrating, not just on us, but like as a team, and like when you're managing all these guys, they have families across the country. So, like, this was a tool to tell them, hey guys, look, we want this. There's better days ahead. Like one day you can hopefully we franchise to another market. You guys can. I mean, life is like So I think it was a great tool for us to keep these guys motivated, and yeah, we're grateful we won it.
We are also proud of what you and your team have achieved. Like it feels so amazing to see Sri Lankans get international recognition amidst all this chaos that's happening in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
So the most recent, the most recent and the common challenge everyone had to face, like the restaurant business, was to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Do you feel ISSO is doing something different than the other restaurant businesses to prevail in the market?
I would like to think so. Yes. I mean, so soon as the first lockdown hit, we saw customers going to the supermarket. So then we started producing frozen food, where we started producing frozen isowades, frozen prawn spring rolls, frozen prawn cutlets, and so on. And we started supplying supermarkets. Um, so as we saw the shift go, we found a new revenue stream. We did something slightly different, and today we're in most Keel's outlets as well as all Glomark outlets. We're getting into spa soon. So we're slowly growing that business. I thought that was something different. But also during the pandemic with marketing and communications, I think we try to identify some needs of the customers. I'm not saying we're great. I mean, we're the best, but like we identified a few gaps of what they would look for, and we try to cater to them. So we do a few things. One is we had like a vaccine promotion for a short while, where if you got your vaccine, you get a discount. You show us your vaccine card. We're going to start it again next month for the first month, if we open up, just to again promote people to do the right thing. And also during the pandemic, we came up with we do these Sunday specials. We assume that on Sunday, I mean, people, even though they're at home, they work during the week, and on the weekends they spend it with their family. So we've come up with these Sunday set menus for 4 people where you can share with your family. So again, we're doing things differently, and I'm sure everyone else is as well. But yeah, we're trying to do things differently.
Okay, would love to see what's happening there. Okay, so what would you like? Would you like to share our future plans of ISO restaurants, or do you want to keep it as a secret?
I can briefly share. So for Sri Lanka, we have another 3 outlets that are opening in Sri Lanka over the next few months. The first one is in Bathramulla, followed by one outlet in Weligama on the beach, and one in Kandy. We think about our future a lot. We have ambitious plans. I'd like to say that we dream a lot. We dream every day. And we hope to see ISSO as a global restaurant brand representing Sri Lankan prawns, Sri Lankan cuisine, and Sri Lankan hospitality. And for the many of you who don't know, Sri Lankan prawns are the most sought after prawns by chefs across the world. Most of the A grade, I mean, premium prawns out of which you get over here are shipped out. Our largest buyer is Japan. We only get the see when the shell breaks or the tail breaks or the head breaks, like those can't be exported. That's what you get in the local market. So at ISSO over here, we buy only A grade prawns. And again, this is something we want to. If we have the opportunity to franchise and enter new markets, we also want to like explain to our customers why the Sri Lankan prawns are the best, and there are a lot of facts behind Sri Lankan prawns. Sorry.
All right, so good luck with it. Okay, so Nas, I think this will be my very last question, and it's going to be a very personal one. What is the dish you love the most in your own menu?
It's a tricky question. I think it changes all the time. Um, but I think my standard staple has been the prawn burger. Like it's a solid prawn burger. So I would say that would probably be my favorite. But I love the rest of them too.
Yeah, so work is a whole nother level, I guess. So, all right, everyone, we are officially done with the spotlight segment. Now it is time for a short Q&A session. Remember, you don't have to be an IIT to shoot out the questions. So if you do have any, you can simply unmute yourself or drop the questions in the chat box. You can even turn on your video upon your wish. So over to you, audience.
What are the opportunities you see for ISSO? Have you thought of diversification? Um, we see the biggest opportunity we see for ISSO is to franchise, right? To basically scale up and grow more. I mean, first we have to prove a working model in Sri Lanka with new outlets opening and so on, and then we want to scale out outside the country. So I see a lot of opportunity outside of Sri Lanka in markets where they can spend more money, and again, they culturally love prawns. Um, yes, we have thought of diversification. I would assume our frozen food business is a form of diversification. We are moving into, hopefully before the end of the year, we're launching another project through our restaurant business. Again, I would say it's a new industry. We are diversifying. Um, yeah. I think we answered this question earlier, but I'll answer it again. I think our greatest strength is who we are as a team and as a business, and all the processes we built internally to operate our business. Um, I think that is our strength.
Hi, Mr. Apinash. I have a question. So the whole ISO restaurant has a whole new concept. So it involves in like setting up such and like coming up with a concept like that involves risk taking in the hospitality market. So like how did you like come cope with this risk taking challenge, and like can you just brief on it?
Okay, there's a risk in everything you do, right? I believe that. I think there's a risk in everything. There's a risk if you step outside your house. You just have to take it and do it. You just have to learn. Just put your foot forward. And I mean, I think I just put my foot forward and did it. There are things that will be thrown at you. You just have to take a step back and understand how you can tackle it and move forward. I think I hope that answers your question.
Yes, yes, sir.
So I also see two more questions here. Maybe I can go through that. One is, how effective is social media platforms as opposed to word of mouth? Word of mouth is definitely it works best. If I go and tell my family, hey, go eat at this restaurant, it's the best food I've tried in town. That assurance is gives you a higher chance of making a sale. However, in terms of a brand reach, getting people to know about your brand, that through social media. I think we built our brand through social media, so I don't want to shoot it down. It's definitely important, but I think both goes hand in hand. It's important. The feedback people communicate to one another is as important as you pushing your brand out through social media. Do you find any difficulties raising funds? Yes, I do find difficulties raising funds because nobody wants to give funds away. I wouldn't say it's difficult. We have done one round of, we have raised funds once. It's about the story you tell, what you want to do. And as long as you can explain clearly as long as you have a clear idea of what you want to do with this money, I think there are a few people out there who are willing to invest. So I'm not sure. I don't think we went through a difficulty, but like we went through the cycle of raising money, and we succeeded. Can you explain the first 2-3 years of your business? How did you maintain the financial balance? Okay. So the first 2-3 years of our business, there was not the first year and second year. There was not too much competition, so we were profitable. We basically, two things we did on our second year. We invested in our second outlet in Green Park, and we also invested in an outlet in Maldives. Again, I would do it differently today. You learn, right? You learn as you go on. But so basically, we set up another outlet. Revenues were decent. You made a reasonable profit bottom line. This industry, other than profits, it's also driven by passion. So you have to be hands-on, and if you are fully, it should work, right? On our 3.5 to 4th year, we saw the Easter attacks followed by the pandemic. So then we saw a downturn, right? So the first 2-3 years we were okay. The market was good. How are you adapting to serving customers amid the pandemic? It's purely focusing on delivery and takeaway. We are trying to push our frozen food brand out to a larger audience to bring in revenue, and also like coming up with deals which people might enjoy during the lockdown at home. I think these are a few things which we are doing. Behind every successful business is effective financial management. How do you achieve this? How do you come up with menus? Do you try this out yourself? Okay. Yes, behind every successful business is effective financial management. I think it's being on top of the ball. You need to know where your costs are going into. You need to look at timely P&Ls. You need to have cash flow statements to see where your money is going. You need to think and see, hey, is this cost matching my revenue? Are there any places? You have to constantly be on the ball. So I think that's how we manage our financial situation. How do you come up with menus? Again, we put feedback together. We also speak to our customers when they come in to see what they'd like to see on the menu. We look at our menu and see. So again, we want to serve a variety of Sri Lankan dishes as well as a variety of prawn dishes from around the world. So we try and see what is missing there. Is it the Indian cuisine, or is it a Korean cuisine, or a Mexican cuisine? Wherever there's a gap, we try and test out some products. If it tastes good, it goes onto the menu. Can I cook? Yes, I can cook, but not in my restaurant. I'm not that good. Is your marketing strategy different from the competition? I'm not sure, but like how we do our marketing strategy is we look at our customer segments, So when we look inside our restaurant, we see the different types of people that come in. We see couples coming in, we see families coming in, we see students coming in, we have young working class coming in, we have old grandparents coming in. So we have different types of people, and they're all coming in for different reasons. So whenever we're coming up with deals and communications, we are targeting it for each one of these customer segments. So I think that's how we're different. If you had one piece of advice to someone just starting out, what would it be? I would say dream big, don't be scared. Just go for it, and you'll figure it out. Like, don't give up. And believe in yourself. Every day is not going to be a good day, but you got to stay positive and just keep going. That's the only trick. What do you enjoy most about being an entrepreneur? To be honest, I think coming home at 3 in the afternoon to spend an hour with my kid, with my daughter. I wouldn't be able to do this with a full-time job. I think that's what I enjoy the most. I mean, right now, that's the freedom I enjoy. Other than that, I like to I like to see that I'm building something, and I hope this impacts the lives of my team one day, and I'll be really happy then. What do you consider entrepreneur mindset from your experience? I think it's you got to have an attitude that you'll do whatever it takes. I mean, every day people are going to come and tell you this is not going to work, and like a bunch of negative stuff. So you got to make sure. I think that's the attitude. You got to be like, you know what? I'm going to do this 10 times, and I'm going to show you how it's done. And I think that's the attitude, because you got to motivate yourself every day to keep going. Knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently when you first started? Yes. One is knowing what I know now, I would have basically raised a lot of investment, scaled up faster, made sure I didn't make the mistakes I made, which is a lot of them. And I would have done things differently, obviously. There's too many to list over there, but I would try to avoid a few mistakes I made. Sorry for the brevity over there. Would you one day convert ISSO restaurants into a family business? I don't think so. Right. Right now, part of my plan is eventually 5 years, 10 years down the line, I'd like to see 100 outlets across the world, which is a very small goal compared to the other big brands out there. Some brands have just in the thousands in some markets. By doing this, I also want to give most of my key employees employee share option programs where they get stake in the business, and hopefully we can scale this up one day and share this with a lot of people. And I don't want it to become a family business. No. I hope we build a business that is different to what's out there, that can create value to a lot of people that work for us. Can you share your experience and what you initially did to attract customers after opening? Honestly, after opening the first outlet, we just sat there. And waited for customers to roll in. And I remember the second weekend was a Friday, and I think by like 9 p.m. I was sold out of prawns. We didn't do anything. We just waited. It was word of mouth. Initially, it was word of mouth. How did you cope with the express pearl issue? Think you will branch out to mitigate future risks? The express pearl issue did not affect our business. Fortunately, all our prawns are from the northern coast, which is Mannar and Jaffna. We communicated this with our customers. Our revenues didn't drop too much. No, I will not branch out to meat in the future. I would probably look at developing, again, over time, alternate seafood options, alternative meats. And I think that's the future. What's the message that you would like to give to the younger generation? Dream big. You have the power to change how things work. Don't experience comes along, just put your foot down and go for it. And enjoy life. That's what it is. You don't want to be in a depressed job. You don't want to feel like you're stuck somewhere. So enjoy life. Do what you want to do with your life. Find your passion. Put your foot down and just go for it. If you don't succeed in the first time, you've got some experience that will help you the second time. You keep going, and it's going to work at some point. Do you think entrepreneurship is a concept we as a country should pursue more? I think there are a lot of entrepreneurs out here in Sri Lanka. I think the problem is there are no policies or friendly facilities to cater to entrepreneurs over here. You know, I mean, if you want to register a business, it's like 40,000 rupees. If you want to take a bank loan, you got to go for collateral down. There's so many ifs and buts, you know. So I think that's the problem over here. I think there's an entrepreneur in each one of us, you know. As we go on, at some point, we're going to be like, hey, you know what, I can sell this, you know, and that's an entrepreneur in you. Why is ISSO not on Uber Eats or Pick Me Food? We are on Uber Eats and Pick Me Food. We went off one of these platforms for over a year, and now we're back on. Long story. I'll move on to the next one. What is the value proposition that ISSO restaurants provides to customers? I think it's value for money again, right? So you're coming in having a prawn meal for $7.90, $9.90 and up. I think that's value for money. A meal at McDonald's is about $7.50. You know, we're almost the same price. I think that's the main value proposition. We're taking a luxury ingredient, making it reasonable. Restaurants, ISSO restaurants provides. Okay. If you were to take ISSO to Kandy or Mathura, what would you change? I wouldn't change anything about it. I would serve the same food, the same experience for the same market. I wouldn't change anything. I mean, this is what's working for us. There's nothing I want to change. I want to replicate the same thing. And yeah. What do you look for when building a team of employees? See, when you're building a business, I mean, see, with hires, you make good calls and bad calls, right? So as you go on, you should try and see if you see eye to eye, if you both share the same vision and the same energy, you see where the future is, and then you see them stick around with the team, you know. And I think this is a process that's ongoing. There's no secret to it. But I look for. I mean, one of the things I look for is I like to hire young people. You know, so I mean, if you're young, you've already got 1 point. Experience not so much. It's the conversation to see how you would tackle things, and everything else we can grow. If Jaffna prawns are cooked differently, have you thought of Jaffna? In Jaffna, prawns are cooked differently. Have you thought of Jaffna? Do you mean have you thought of Jaffna to open a restaurant? I'm sorry, I'm just a bit confused with that question. Okay, to open a restaurant. No, I have not thought of Jaffna as the next location, because there are other places in the country that has a larger audience with a larger spending capacity, I would feel. So we would probably enter those areas first before we head down to Jaffna. But hopefully one day we would hopefully be there. What's the key aspect that you look for when recruiting staff? Again, what's the key? It depends on the position. It's a few things, you know. Depends on the position we're trying to hire. If they have a lot of energy in them when they're talking to you, it depends a lot on the position, you know, and the job description and how they feel that they would fit into that role, and there's a lot of factors. Who is your role model? I think during these times, I think during the pandemic, especially, started reading a lot about Elon Musk. He's basically, at one point, he was the underdog, 10 years ago as well, when he started talking about Tesla and everything. And now he's building businesses, most of his businesses for the future. You know, he's trying to see what's out there 10 years, 15 years from now, and he's trying. And I would say I look up to him as a role model these days. Yeah. Apart from an entrepreneurial mindset, what are the key qualities or I think being an executor, I mean, no excuses. No, I couldn't do this because of this. I think that's it. I think you need to uh, have this sense of urgency that you need to execute on everything on your table. Because every day your list gets longer. The longer you don't execute, the longer your list gets, and you're not going to get anything done. So I think it's like an execution mindset, like a goal-getter mindset. Something an entrepreneur should have. Um, how have your priorities changed from when you first started? Um, I think when we first started, it was to see how the market reacts to this concept. To see if we were just experimenting, to see if this works, what happens now, what's the interest we're getting, to understand the brand a bit. I think 5 years later, now we know who we are. So I think that's what has changed. So now that we know who we are, we need to try and analyze different markets and see where we will fit in. And I think that's understanding who we are today is what has changed. Um, how do you define success of ISSO? I think being able to survive these times is a fine example of how we have succeeded. And just like us, there's many other businesses, many other restaurants who have got through these difficult times. Um, I think that's what it is. What motivates you to keep going? Because I have nothing else to do with my life other than build my business. This is my baby, and I wake. No matter what pushes me down, I wake up every morning saying, "Hey, it's a new day," And I have a big dream for my company. I have a big dream for my brand, and I just want to put all my energy into it and see if it works and see if we can get somewhere. I want to get somewhere in 5 years and look back. And I think I motivate myself to answer your question. What are my hobbies? How do I relax? So I enjoy working on my business. I think a lot about it. I use different business tools to draw out strategies, dive deep into my business. So I think I spend a lot of time doing this. Um, Apart from this, I love spending time with my daughter. She's only 3 months old, so she's keeping me on my toes. And I think that's all I do. In terms of hobbies, I play a little bit of PlayStation. I eat a lot of food, and nothing much. What advice would you give someone who is trying to become an entrepreneur? I think it's understand who your customer is, understand the gap in the market, understand what product you need to build to fit into that gap, and understand, break down, take a piece of paper and write down everything you have to do to build this brand and execute. I think that's the advice I would give you.
Sorry, I've muted. Are we done with the Q&A session, or are we having it more? I think we are done. All right. Okay, I must say it was such an enlightening session because there were so many questions, and I'm sure Apinash was like, keep it coming. So, right. So before we officially wind up, Mr. Apinash, what is the one last thing you would want to say to us? To us, yes.
Dream big, guys. You're the only person who's stopping yourself from waking up tomorrow and doing something different. So dream big, don't be scared, execute, and we look forward to welcoming you to ISSO soon.
Right. So can we take a group picture before I give the word of thanks? Everyone, if you want to be in the picture, you can turn on your camera. Andrew, are you clicking the picture or okay? So 3, 2, 1, cheese.
Yeah, I might start.
Done? All right, thank you.
All right.
Okay, so I have to give like a proper word of thanks. So hold on. Okay, so thank you very much. Can still see me, yeah? Okay, right. So thank you very much for accepting our invitation and being with us today, Mr. Apinash Sivagumaaran. Your presence actually gives my committee and I the motivation we need, as this is our first event under our committee year. Also, thank you very much, Ms. Gayashini, for making this possible. Last but not the least, the audience. Thank you very much once again. I'm sure we will have very creative-minded entrepreneurs who would think out of the traditional box and create a change in Sri Lanka. So till we meet again virtually, stay safe and have a good night. You're most welcome. The session is over.